Everybody's here.
I don't want
It's
to get
9
over
o'clock.
with.
We'll call the meeting to order.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll change it on here just so I don't forget.
I got all kinds of copies of it, so we're good. So someone has it set up for 6 copies, and it was at 3 before I got it here, so
Oh, I got one in front of me. Yeah, you got one of your 6.
that's okay.
So you think at 9:30, Steve?
Yeah, I should be out of there. in an
Okay,
hour.
approval of the agenda. Any additions or corrections?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approval of minutes from last week.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
You can do them all if you want. We have more than
Oh, yeah,
one.
we have 3 different
We have three,
ones.
we could do all
Just the
three.
general meeting ones is the
We're
ones
approving all
that...
three then?
No,
Yes.
all together?
if you want to.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the TNT, the regular meeting,
And the special meeting.
and the special meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment period. Reminder, no personal attacks.
My name is Sue Van Gorp from Yucatan Township, and I would like to read a letter of warning from a Trempealeau County resident. Houston County citizens should take the time to visit Trempealeau County and see firsthand what frac sand mining looks like. The visible scarring of the land, the incredible amount of heavy truck traffic, the beating of the roads that the roads are taking, and the increased danger for the public sharing the roads with all of these heavy trucks. It's only an hour drive, and it will give you a glimpse of what Houston County will look like if you don't ban the mining activity. Tourism is gone, peace and quiet is gone. The sound of mining activity is more than just the 24/7 processing plants, intrusive lighting and the blasting. It's jake brakes and heavy trucks passing your house, through your neighborhoods at extreme hours, even if you don't live near a mine. Noise, dirt on the roads, and lots of trucks. There is no off-season. They move sand despite frozen ground. The mining companies don't take no for an answer. They petition and annex, conquer and divide, neighbor against neighbor, government against government, annexation fights, lawsuit after lawsuit. It's a mistake to think Houston County can avoid lawsuits by regulating instead of banning. Trempealeau County is mining friendly, and the mining counties still sue or threaten to sue. Mining companies don't pay attention to regulations. They stretch the rules to their benefit. Be sure this is what you want in Houston County if your board members regulate instead of banning mining. Be ready for the mining interests to run you over in the courtrooms and on the roads. Individual property rights don't trump the rights of the greater public good. I live with the mining now in Trempealeau County and own property in Houston County. It would be disappointing to see Trempealeau County's mistakes be repeated so close to home in Houston County. Better to spend your tax money on lawsuits to keep mining out than to spend it on lawsuits, enforcement, and road repair after you let them in. I hope you will heed this warning. The majority of people do not want this in this county.
Brian Van Gorp, Yucatan Township. I'd like to make 3 points. Number 1, on March 25th, 2014, this board voted via a roll call vote, 3-2, in favor of, and I quote, establishing a committee to pursue banning language. You have not fulfilled this obligation. Number 2, this new banning ordinance this new ordinance and a ban are 2 completely separate issues. You can ban with or without a new ordinance. 4 out of the 5 of you have publicly stated your intention for a ban and to use this new ordinance as a fallback position in case the ban fails in court. I hope you also realize that any restriction is as likely to be challenged as a ban in court. Number 3, you can legally ban frac sand mining. Your own land use attorney, Jay Squires, has publicly stated this on multiple occasions. April 8th, at a board meeting, he stated this. Check your minutes. At the hearing regarding the first study group, he stated it is simple and legal. You just need a reason. He also said that the study group would reveal those reasons. And here are 3 reasons that were revealed in the study group. You can't and won't enforce whatever ordinance is passed. We know that in Wisconsin, at any given time, 50% of the mines are in violation. Every enforcement statement in the new ordinance says may instead of shall. This shows an intent to allow. B, mining would result in a huge decrease in the value of the assets of this county. Tourism, roads, property values, amount of farmland, beauty, etc., etc., etc. C, you can't protect the health and safety of the residents. You won't even address air quality monitoring. Please stop pretending that you're not sure you can ban this. You can, and you should know it by now.
Michael Fields, Winnebago Township. You get regular reports from department heads because you rely on the information they provide to make decisions. But if the information you get is wrong, any decision based on that information is going to be a bad decision. I see in this week's Argus that your planning and zoning director is peddling the same story to the newspapers that he sold to you back in July of last year. That's when he told the board that Skyline Materials had successfully reclaimed the disrupted area of their setback violation, as ordered by the Board of Adjustment. To review, 3.5 years ago, the Board of Adjustment ordered Skyline to, quote, fill in with topsoil and properly slope, seed, and mulch the disrupted area, end quote. I told you about this a few months ago and brought in soil samples to show that this disrupted area was not filled in with topsoil. Okay, so maybe you thought I was lying. But very recently, the editor of the Argus actually watched me pick up new soil samples. The photo of that event is in the newspaper. Additionally, the ordinance defines a proper slope as one that does not exceed an 18% grade. Again, the photo in the Argus shows that the slope is more like 40 or 45%. The Board of Adjustment order also directed that the work be completed by May 15th, 2011. Still waiting. The Planning and Zoning Director clearly blew off every provision of this variance order and has stated twice, for the record, that every provision was complied with. So, which are you going to believe? Bob Scanlon or your own eyes? This is not the only time that Mr. Scanlon has misled the board, and I have already documented.
No personal attacks, Mike.
This is a professional attack, and I have already documented several other instances concerning this single mine.
It's time to
Your
shut
time
up.
is up too, Mike.
Okay, by the way, how will you know if your new frac sand ordinance is being complied with? Because Bob says so?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Ken Jumper from La Crescent Township. I have 2 points I wish to make today. First, I want to again request that you hold one or more informational meetings on the draft ordinance for mining. Last evening, I attended a public information meeting in La Crescent on the La Crescent-Hoka School District proposal for a new elementary school. It was one of the best meetings I've ever attended in Houston County. People on both sides of the issue were well-informed, thoughtful, courteous, asked and answered important questions, and articulated their positions very well. I found it extremely informative. Commissioners, you owe it to the residents of this county to do the same thing with the draft mining ordinance, given the far-reaching and radical impact it will have on all of us. Are you so afraid of what you will hear about how bad this draft ordinance is that you don't hold this kind of hearing? Secondly, 191 countries just completed a 2-week meeting in Lima, Peru on climate change. They agreed that all countries will develop and publish plans in the next few months that will form the basis of an international agreement to address climate change and global warming at a meeting in Paris in 2015. Business and NGOs were also actively involved in these talks. The entire world understands the need to reduce the use and production of fossil fuels. You, Commissioners, need to understand that too. That is why we need to ban frac sand mining. Frac sand makes possible hydraulic fracking, the most extreme method of oil and gas production there is. Every level of government is sooner or later going to have to make a decision to move away from the fossil fuel economy of the past to the renewable energy economy of the future, and that includes the government in Houston County. Step up to the plate and provide leadership, commissioners. The draft mining ordinance will not work, so get rid of it. Banning frac sand mining will be a bold step on your part to move into the future.
Morning, Commissioners. Bruce Chemical from Caledonia. I'm a trustee of the Caledonia United Methodist Church in town. We carry insurance on our property and the bodies that live in there during the day. I went to our insurance agent here in town and asked him about an exclusion that's on our contract. These exclusions are nationwide in the insurance industry. They were promulgated in the early 2000s. It's called silica or silica-related dust exclusion. The following exclusion is added to blah, blah, blah. The insurance does not apply to silica or silica-related dust. 1, bodily injury arising or in part or in whole out of alleged, actual, threatened, suspected inhalation of or ingestion of silica, silica-related dust, or silica included as a constituent of, etc., etc., etc. Bodily property damage excluded. Personal and advertising injury excluded. Any loss or expense arising in whole or in part of the abating, testing, monitoring, cleanup, removal, containing, treating, detoxifying, neutralizing, remediating, or disposal of any way responding to or assessing the effects of silica or silica-related dust excluded.
Anybody else wish to address the board at this time? Brian?
Morning.
Good morning.
I have several agenda items today. I'd like to get some projects closed out and payments issued here before the end of the year. So the first project is CP 2014-04, which is the seal coating project on several county roadways. The original contract was for $387,189.70. The work certified was $461,129.10. So pretty significantly over the original contract amount. The reason being is that we had a couple roadway links that were inaccurate in the initial estimate. So we were off a couple miles there, so that added another essentially $40,000 worth of mileage change, and then the rest of it is from extra oil being put down on the roadway as depending on the condition of the roadways and stuff. So
Is this one of those that was affected by the flooding?
no.
No, this was a regular.
Yep.
Okay. We need a motion to.
Yeah, nothing we can do about it, but pay it, right?
No, I mean, if we want, we can cut back our seal coating this next year and try to make up for this overrun. But you know, it's one of those things where you don't get the numbers until after the project's complete. You know, you really can't start cutting out a mile or two of roadway and leave. You know,
Yeah.
do the rest of it. So.
Real quick side note, speaking of that, any word with Matthews about that County 4 leaving out a mile of roadway we were talking about?
County 4 got done.
It did?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we definitely pushed them, got them back and got it done. So
Okay, good.
that project's not complete yet, but the actual main lane pavement's all down.
Okay.
No striping.
No striping, no, there's still some more pavement left on the approaches. And
Okay. All right, sorry, anyway, it made me think of that, so.
okay.
I would move payment of the contract.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And next on the agenda is filing out project SAP 28-605-018. This is the project on County 5 right here in Caledonia. The original contract amount was $568,807.34. The work certified is $569,467.45. So it's just slightly over the original estimate, and that had to deal with some underground water and utilities that were found as they went to build that project. So the remaining work out there is going to include some striping and some second lift of pavement that'll be done under a separate contract next summer. So
Is this the first time you've worked with this contract?
yes,
And you guys were you happy with him?
yeah, they did a good job.
Okay. Motion to approve the contract 246 with TJ Trucking and Excavating.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The next contract is project SAP 28-996-007, which is the Perkins Valley Road Reconstruction Project in Money Creek Township with J.B. Holland. Original contract $618,903.50. Work certified is $646,083.90. This project, the overruns are essentially due to some areas that were restored, and before the vegetation got established, there was some erosions, really sandy soils. The funding for this project is the state of Minnesota legislative bonding money. So it's flood money. We had two options. One was to get the state to approve the flood bonding money to make the repairs. Others have the township make them on their own, and better for everyone to have that contractor make them. So things should be good out there now.
Motion to approve the contract with J.P. Holland.
A second?
Further discussion? That was quite a project to begin with, anyway. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next project would be SP 28-603-024. And this is actually a multi-road project and involved, I believe, 4 roadways. This is flood repair project from the 2013 floods. Original contract $145,041. Work certified is $120,092.93. So a little bit under.
Motion to approve SP 28-603-024.
Second?
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
This final one then that I have is approving the 2014 prioritized bridge replacement resolution. This is essentially the 5-year county plan for bridge replacement projects in the county.
We don't have the,
I think we got
Came
it
on
separately.
Came on a separate.
It came on a separate.
I mean, I feel like I saw it and then I went to one and it wasn't there.
It was, I think,
It was in that,
Shari added it maybe? Or Michelle sent an extra one?
Oh, got it.
Here it is, okay. That was a good
Sorry.
report, too. We have some,
Yeah, so this one, this bridge priority replacement schedule, it's used for multiple purposes. One purpose is for the state, as MnDOT goes to the state legislature for approval or recommendations for funding for additional transportation projects, bridge replacement, bridge bonding funds. They use these resolutions to come up with a list of projects and a dollar amount for what it's going to take to do work in 2015, 16, 17, for the next 5 years. So that's why I'm coming at this point, is to get this resolution approved into the state so that way they can use it as they approach the legislature here in the upcoming months. The other item that I've done here is I've sent a letter to all the townships requesting all of them to, well, I guess informing and requesting the townships to review the list and let me know if there's any projects that they'd like to see added onto the schedule or taken off. The timing-wise, I wanted to give the townships a month to review this and to meet and stuff, so I haven't got comments back from a single township yet.
So it was sent out to all the
So
townships?
it was sent out, but I haven't gotten any comments back. So all these resolutions, or all these bridges, I believe, have resolutions from the townships, but some of them are 10 to 12 years old. Township boards could have changed. They could have different thoughts now as far as what bridges they want to replace. The projects that are on the schedule in 2018 and 19, some of those townships weren't necessarily aware up until a couple weeks ago that was going to be on the list. I'm not going to spend any money on anything on this replacement resolution list unless the township says, yes, we're good with it, because the money actually goes back to the township for the first 10,000 of design, first 10,000 of construction. So there's a potential that a year might change a little bit. I don't think any projects are going to want to come on or off, but this is kind of more of a guide, especially used for in the latter years. So I would like approval today rather than wait so we can get up to the legislature, but I might come back in and need to amend it in a month or something.
So this will be sent to the state after?
Yep.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I really like to, if someone asks us about a road, we can say, oh yeah, it's on the schedule.
Yeah, just don't hold me to the years exactly as it is.
It's all right.
So, thank you.
Sounds good. That was a good list, and especially Minnesota's really on top of this ever since the bridge collapse.
We've been focusing on the bridges. Exactly.
There's a lot of them here.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Brian. Okay.
Who's that person?
Okay, Tess, I believe you're next.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
And we have a brief agenda this morning. Staffing, we have a couple of items on the agenda for human service staffing. And one of them, the first one is we're recommending a change of employment status from probationary to regular for Jennifer Daly Oaks, effective 12/24/14. This is with the endorsement of the supervisor as well as the department head due to her successful completion of her probationary period. And do you want to just make a brief comment?
Sure,
In support
yeah.
of Jennifer?
Yep, Jennifer is a children's mental health social worker, and we are really very fortunate to have her. She has quite a background in child protection, gained previously down in the state of Iowa, but she's a Spring Grove person, so she enjoys her job, and she's doing a really good job, and we appreciate her experience. So, yep,
So
happy
we
to have her.
ask for a motion on that point.
I move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Second one that has the justification is listed there. The Human Services Department came to HR and we discussed, I understand you've discussed in committee as well, the need for a social services case aid. And we had, my office did due diligence with regards to the financial questions as well as the staffing needs and what that staffing needs, the basis that would support it. Under the justification there, it is noticeable and very noteworthy that the social workers do not have an assigned case aid. And I think that's one of the key factors. It is not a efficient or economically prudent, even though this is an incremental increase, an actual increase in finance, but it is not economically prudent to have the social workers doing the case aid work, which distracts from them effectively performing their other services, which does impact a lot of the different outcomes as far as monitoring of placements, all their case management. Most importantly, the support work they do for the county attorney's office. And so, would you like to make further comments, please?
Well, probably, I want to say 7 years or so ago, the group of social workers we're talking about, actually all the social workers had 2 case aides. And then one of the case aides was reassigned and became mostly collections. However, she's never been able to give up, and which is probably a good thing. She's never given up the part where she aids the social workers with the coding and making sure the things are in SSIS, such as licensure at a foster care home, that kind of thing. She's always had to go back and do some of that work in order for it to get done in a timely fashion so that we meet our deadlines for reporting. So that's gone on, and then the other one, I believe we literally lost a case aide when one of our people applied for a job out at Public Health, got the job, because and at that time, her main reasoning for changing was their funding was more secure than ours. So anyway, they lost 2 case aides. They've never really gotten them back. They probably have 10 or 15% of the one person who's actually considered administrative and a collections officer. So that's sort of the history on it. Over the years, we've tried to put a lot of Band-Aids on it. We've, if I count them up, there've probably been 10 or 12 people that have kind of come and gone through the office. We have our 2 Experience Works people who try and help if they can. Right now, we've had temporary employees, the 67-day employees. For a while there, we had a couple of flood employees. Every year, they cannot wait to get interns because interns help them catch up on their paperwork, and they learn how to use SSIS, which is a really good learning experience for interns. Interns, however, also go out in the field and help them that way. But anyway, that's what we've been doing over the years. We've been Band-Aiding with interns and temp workers, and you eventually get to the point where you need to have somebody consistent who remembers and understands the history of a case or whatever's going on, and it just gets to be really, really important. The other thing that really sort of brought this to a head was our county attorney's office requested that we study and look at it harder, and we've been tossing this around for years, so it was nothing new. But I know on that end of it, they would appreciate getting documents, court documents and stuff quicker. It would help them a lot. They're supposed to meet all these timelines too. I can't say they're meeting all of them. They get their documents, but they get them. They get them because the social workers are doing them when the social workers also need to be out at a case, and it's overload. It's too much. And then the other thing I worry about, especially with child protection, because they're the ones who end up having to pick up and leave. Other things like children's mental health or adult mental health, those are more scheduled appointments. They already are aware and know the situation of the person. Where child protection, they walk in on who knows what. They really are not sure. And they're the ones who think, oh, I'm going to get that court report all done this afternoon, and then they get some kind of a call and they have to leave and it doesn't happen. So what ends up happening then, in order to get done, is we very much, employees have their choice of comp time or overtime. Well, we end up comping comp time for them, a lot, because that's what they do, because they know our budget's tight. So we have all that comp time. So then, end of the year, what ends up happening is they have an awful lot of comp time just sitting there because they don't have time to take the comp time. They end up then cashing it in, so we pay overtime because comp time works the same. It's just that it's kind of like this little bank they save up, and then about the 1st of December, they all get their Christmas money and comp it in, and we don't, or cash it in. We really don't have, we don't have enough time for them to get done what they need to get done. And then, to me, if we're already paying overtime, with the amount of overtime, with the amount of, the lack of maybe getting something done in time, and not even counting, I don't think you can put a dollar value on the stress we put. There's 3 particular workers under to get all this done and to do it right, and they want to do a good job. Then you think about the liability of the county, you know, if they miss something. Missing something's a real possibility. They just don't have time to dig deep into a case, deeper than maybe they would want to dig, but they're kind of in a bind. Anyway, I add it all up and I go, how can we not do this in a way? The other thing that I just had confirmed, actually, a couple days ago, I ran I don't have it right in front of me. I ran an article in the Star Tribune, and it's about the state and about where their money is going. And the other thing along with that is the MAXA platform for what they're working toward in 2015. And I'm sure all of you know about the Brandon Stahl articles on the child protection and how the state has actually cut back funding. I think it's $36 million in the last 10 years for all the counties, and that's why things are so tight for child protection. Anyway, one of the things MAXA is my group. It's Minnesota Association of Social Service Administrators. They actually lobby at the state quite a bit, and they are looking, one of their main platform things this coming year is to refund, add money to child protection system. So I can see it paying for itself, and if we don't get the funding through the state, which I'm actually pretty confident we will, but if, it isn't there until they vote on it. I do believe that just between the comp time and the efficiencies that we will pick up, having things reported timely.
How much are you looking at that you're spending in comp time now?
I should have brought that one along, and I did not. I can tell you at the end of the year. In fact, I have county board this morning. I can try and find out where we're at. I know another worker emailed me this morning and wanted to cash in 80 hours of comp time. And I roughly, just off the top of your heads, take $20 an hour. Some get more, some, whatever. Take $20 an hour times 80 hours. That's $1,600 right there. Multiply that times 5 employees. What do you have there? I don't know.
Do you really feel that you need a full-time position at this case aid part? I was at a meeting where it was discussed how their reports are too long that they're turning in. And so I guess I just have questions as to if this person is well-trained in the report that the courts want to see, can they do it in a half-time position, or does this really necessitate a full-time position?
The reports actually come from the social workers, not from the case aid.
Yeah.
And it is not uncommon that lengthy reports that have information that may not be necessarily as condensed or as concise is due to the lack of time to do appropriate editing. I don't know that that's necessarily the case here. This could be a matter of lack of time to take appropriate training to refine and hone those skills. However, one of the things that I was looking at in this is that I do not think can be underestimated is the potential liability when you have social workers that are doing basically their job plus another fraction of another position's job. And that, for the county, can come across in a lot of ways, not the least of which is the potential human, the cost to services not being rendered as they need to be to those who have a need for them, and whether that's protective or otherwise. And I just find it, like I said, very telling from my perspective as the HR director that we have case aid support for other areas of social services and human services as a whole department, and have not dedicated resources sufficiently, at least. We have dedicated resources in overtime in this 10 to 15% time, but that we have not dedicated these resources to this kind of support for our social workers.
I can
Sue
add.
and I, Steve and I actually met with the county attorneys, two of them, and Human Services, Linda and Tim. And you have lost 2 case aides, like you said, to public health and never replaced them.
Right.
And we felt that this is actually using 1 full-time person to replace 2 losses. And the county attorney is the one who brought this initially to Steve and I, because they are actually having problems in the courts with child protection cases, not having documentation in front of them, lose a case type
In a
of deal.
timely manner. It's not getting to them in a timely manner. And let
Right,
me-
and I mean, I've heard all of that. I've heard that the reports aren't there on time. And I guess the reason I'm questioning it is because we're going to look at so many budget things that I really feel that we need to question this one, only because, okay, these say who provide the following support. 1 person for the front desk, but that's the only person, you know, they're not like supporting a person who's there. And we have 2 people in child support, you know, and they're probably supporting the people, but licensing, that's just the licensor herself. It's not somebody supporting her. Our licensor is a case aid person. And our intake worker is a case aid, which I see the need for that, you know, but I guess I'm getting mixed signals about, you know, how much time. And that's why I asked the question about the comp time. I mean, is that comp time going to disappear if we add a full-time person? I mean, I want to know that that's going to be monitored so that the comp time doesn't keep adding up when we've added a case aid to help.
Let me make 2 clarifications. One to Commissioner Walters. We have the social work side, if you will, has lost 2 case aides, if you will. However, the department has lost 1 because it was a shift of resources, because there was a need that was, it's like, where are you bleeding the worst? We'll put the Band-Aid there. So I want to clarify that. Commissioner Storley, I understand your concern, and it's a very valid one. Haven't spoken with, and we haven't had a chance to caucus on that point. However, I would say that if it's the desire of this board to go with a half-time case aid, that certainly would be welcome, with the understanding that it would be a test, if you will, to see where you're at, with the potential of extending that position to a full-time FTE if in fact the need could be proved at a later date, if the need could be proved.
Excuse me for interrupting. I just want to know that somebody's going to make sure that the comp time isn't continuing and the position is added. I mean, we don't have any control over that. I mean, it doesn't come to us to say, these people have comp time and now we're going to have to pay it out. That's the department head's work. What I'm saying is, I'm not okay with the budget saying we're doing both. And I could handle a half-time position at that to start out. Let's see what the needs are. Let's see if the reports are getting done on time.
And just as a reminder, the time that's required for the social workers in the cases is dependent upon 2 main factors. And one is the number of cases, depending upon how many cases they're floating at a particular time, and the need could, but we would be able to show that there was an increase in caseload. But as much as increase in caseload number, it is the complexity as well of the particular cases that they're involved in and what that necessarily means with regards to follow-up for the county attorney's office as far as the report that is required there. And the depth of those reports that may be necessary. So I think we can, the department had certainly, I mean, they all look at comp time. I can tell you department heads come talk to me all the time. I mean, they have either a zero policy for comp time, or they do it very limited based on absolutely last resort. I think the department heads are working and striving towards that, and the supervisor of this area is very cognizant of that as well.
The other thing to do with comp time, social workers, well, like I say, some types of social workers, their life is a little more settled, like children and adult mental health, disability services. They don't seem to rack up the comp time. It mainly is in child protection, and it's because they can get called out at strange hours, and then it ends up on Friday afternoon. I tell you what, you wouldn't believe the number of times Friday afternoons somebody calls in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they're out till 7. What do we do about that? The way the labor laws are written, the week is what it is. However, I can tell you, if they weren't sitting there trying to make a deadline for court, they probably would have a little less comp time as well. But, there were a couple other things I did not mention that really lean toward an argument of a full-time person as well. The one big, huge thing that starts January 1st is called North Star Care for Children. And basically, they've taken everything. They've taken, what's that?
We did put that in our justification.
Anyway, that's good. I didn't read that. But North Star Care for Children, what it does is it totally revamps the original system we have for foster care. They call it kinder care, adoptions, adoption assistance, all of that. That whole new thing is coming into place. The other thing that I am especially concerned about is compliance with our 4E deadlines. And what happens there is it starts with the social workers. They have to get the original stuff in SSIS. That information goes over into income maintenance, so it hits income maintenance, social services, and it hits child support. All those 3 departments are affected by it. It kind of is an overall agency domino effect. And like I say, we've band-aided this for years. We've known about the problem for years. Finally, the county attorney's office said something, and then there's other things going on in our department. Right now, one of our Experience Works employees will be leaving in August, and because she's used up her time frame, I think they can have 48 months. She will be gone. We don't really have.
She'll leave next August?
This coming August in 15, yeah.
Okay.
She is a person who watches the front desk as well. And by the time we get, it just happens, you have as many people in a department as we have. By the time you have leaves of absence, medical leaves, things like that all going on, there are only 3 child protection workers. They have a full load right now. And I think maybe before they've talked about a little bit about the meth ring in Houston County. Mm-hmm. Absolutely huge. And they have a lot of families right now involved in that. Some of those families have 4 kids, 3 kids, and they're in a precarious spot. Those kids are.
Investigations are.
They're all ongoing.
Time-consuming.
Yeah, they're time consuming. You need to treat it with a lot of attention, and of course, then that's going to get first priority. Paperwork is secondary. In the meantime, the whole rest of the agency sits and waits. And there's a true need there. We used to have 2. We now have 0.
I moved to table this till a later date. Reason I say that, I agree with what Commissioner Sterling, where she's going with this. I would like to chat with her a little bit more. I'd like to get a little bit more research. We've got the budget stuff coming up next week.
And you know, my heart is in human
Oh, yeah.
services. My heart is there.
Yeah.
I'm just so pulled between the budget we're looking at and, you know, I guess I don't feel,
Well, Commissioners, we appreciate your struggle with this and also appreciate the fact that you are willing to spend some time investigating it further, and whatever we can do to supply you with the information you need, we'll be happy to
And we
do
could
so.
start with a half-time position and see if that's enough. That's, you know,
Ease into it.
because
I know
there
that-
is a need, at least
Yeah.
that's what I've seen from our meetings, there is a real need.
In the county attorney's office, you know, they feel that, you know, some children are actually in danger, I guess, because of
I
some
know.
cases where
Well,
they just didn't have the documentation to
I mean,
support.
we could start with the half-time and evaluate it from there.
and I guess, you know, and I don't want anybody else to think, and I agree with where Judy's coming from, so I don't want anybody to think like we're not seeing this as an important thing, but I think Judy's right. You know, we've got some budgeting things going on, and can we find a different way to handle it, or can we shove some things around and figure out, you know, a solution? I guess I would, my personal thoughts, I would like to sit and soak on this one for a little bit, just give me some time to look at this, and I'd like to talk to Commissioner Storley too on some of her more ideas and expound upon it. So that's my personal thoughts. And not saying that we're not going to, but, you know, just a little bit of time here to.
One last comment on that, Commissioner. Child social work, the areas of child social work and child protection, where we talked about band-aiding the support together for it. Please keep in mind that we're always behind, they're always behind the training wheel on constantly having somebody temporarily assigned type thing. So that creates another level of inefficiencies and greater stress, because there isn't a dedicated person. It's like, can you type thing. And I just wanted to throw that out there. That is
and I know that
A factor as
that the
well.
work this person's going to have to do is very knowledge-based. I just feel that if we started with a half-time position and did a study on how it works, I don't know if that's reasonable or not, but I'm just not comfortable with a full-time position for how our budget sits right now.
I have a thought for you. If we could do a half-time position, and then, like I say, my MAXA, my directors group, and what they're presenting to the state legislature, between what they're presenting and what the state legislature has noticed huge in the Star Tribune and the big articles about child protection and the lack of funding there and all of that, could we see maybe then we can make that position full-time?
If there was
At
more
that point.
funding that came in,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't have a problem with it
Right.
because it's not coming off of our taxpayers.
Yeah.
And I
So-
mean, I know there's a need, and there's always a
Yeah.
need there, and so this is really hard, but it's
Yeah.
also looking at adding a position, so.
Oh, yeah, I know it. I'm with you on that. I agree totally. I see a desperate need, and I also see hopefully, but you know, we can't count on it till somebody votes on it.
I mean, I would make a motion to go ahead with a half-time person in that we could, if funding was available, expand that position to full-time. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Second that motion.
Okay, here real quick, I still got a motion to table. Is there, is there a chance we can chat about this and bring this back next week and approve it next week?
I think there's a real need, and I didn't realize you had a motion to do tabling, but we should maybe act on Justin's motion first to table it. Is there a second to that?
I'm struggling, but I can't second. I can't.
No, that's fine. And here's the thing, I would agree, I would rather go part-time and see how it goes. And if you guys are comfortable with that, I would rather see that. just, if we're gonna go full-time,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't make that
Okay.
decision
No, I
today.
couldn't either, but I can go with halftime.
Okay, so Justin's motion failed for lack of a second. The motion Judy made, it's seconded by Steve, was to go halftime, see if, if we can get funding to pay for it and eliminate this comp time. That's a big thing, too. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank
And Linda, I do realize you've needed this for a while, and I know we've had discussion, and I know
Yeah.
with the county attorney and stuff, so I don't want you to think that we're
Oh, no.
pushing this under the table, but Judy's right with the budget and
Oh,
stuff.
I
That's gonna
know,
be
I get it totally,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and I'm just happy to give it a try, and I do think there'll be funding there. I
Mhm.
really
Let's
do.
hope so.
But until we get it, you can't.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that's great. No, this is wonderful. Thank you.
I didn't pull up the word. Sorry.
Just a quick update. As I previously said, I'd have a full report to you. It's coming in patches here and there on the historic jail. I just received this morning I sent you by email a report on the mothballing, but I just received this morning, finally, the construction cost to raise the building. We sought 3 quotes. 2 companies backed out. We have 1 company left standing, and their quote, just for information, like I said, I'll formalize all this, is at $75,000. And that includes demolition and removal of the entire structure, including the above grade and below grade foundation. Site will be backfilled and graded to street level. Engineering and shoring costs to protect the new, and also includes engineering and shoring costs to protect the new jail during the demolition. And asbestos and abatement of lead are not included. The asbestos, I believe, has already been abated, but there may be some lead paint that needs to be abated. Yeah.
What was the name of the company?
Generation X Construction.
Tess, are we also looking at how much it would cost to, as I walked by the building today, I was thinking about this as far as how much it's going to cost, like the steps are already starting to crumble on it. And how much is a new roof going to cost? Are we looking at those
We have
costs
that,
for?
we can ballpark, we have ballparks on those kinds of things, but depending upon what future use might be, your steps may be, you're going to want to put them in, I believe, differently than what they are. Depends upon the function of the building, whether you have it used, and how you're going to do if it's, for instance, a public museum, for example.
Mhm.
And how you'll do that, whether you'll have exterior mounted elevator or a small interior behind the steps. A lot of those costs, we can estimate them right now. It would be very difficult to get firms unless we are really set to go to come in and do a full costing on it. But
And another thing is,
we would likely tear them all out and redo that entire access because the handicap access is not adequate.
have we
It's
ever
currently
put
used.
anything out there as far as somebody buying the building and tearing it down? I know that you're
You
looking
mean
at this
them buying it as far as-
$75,000 to tear it down, but whoever tears down if we go that route, whoever tears down the building, there's things that are of value in it at the same time. And so, just in my head, I'm just wondering if,
Well, typically these, especially if they come in somewhat reasonable, when they are responsible for the removal, they also retain all salvage rights. And that would be clarified in any agreement that we have, so.
It'd be built into their bid, really.
Well, I'm sure that's why it's 75
And
and
when we
150 or
have an
something.
informal quote at this point, like I said, that would be something that when we did the RFP, that would have to be formally addressed. So, to answer your question more directly, Commissioner, we haven't to date because we haven't made a determination.
Right.
But those would be factors that would be included in our request for quotes or requests for bids.
I've just been thinking about all the different angles over there a lot.
Absolutely.
And the more information we have in advance to making, you know, it costs of how much it would cost to do these different things, you know, and because we really have made a decision not to go to the taxpayers. We really want to do this another way.
This is 15,000 below the quote that was received prior to the construction of the Justice Center.
Correct, but there's not as much asbestos to abate either.
There wasn't asbestos to abate really at that time either. The abatement said pretty much, we did not do an asbestos abatement with this recent mitigation. It did not include, that was done several years ago.
Quick question, since we're on the discussion. I know we had talked before about the Historic Society and how they said that they did not, informally they did not want it. Wondering, do we need to, or should we, put together a formal proposal and at least offer it and let them formally turn it down?
I think so, because it's all been talk at this point.
Right, and at least do that phase, and we can say at
Let's
least
wait
we've
till after the
formally
first
offered.
of the year
Yeah.
before we get to that.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, would you repeat what I didn't quite?
There's been a lot of talk about, you know, if the Historical Society would be interested in it. There's been some just, you know, sidebar mention of, you know, that they're not interested. And they say, oh, we probably wouldn't be interested. But my concern is we haven't formally offered it. So my concern was, should we formally offer it? And if they do not want it, they can formally turn it down. At least we've taken that step off the table, and we can say we've gone that route. It's that's done. We've looked at the, you know, and just start chipping away at all of our possibilities until we find a solution.
I mean, obviously, one of the possibilities would be to sell it for a nominal amount of money.
Yeah.
And
Pay them to take it. You know, we literally clean
Yeah.
house or clean the insurance company's clock with a lot of funding,
Right.
and not necessarily give it all to them, but pay them to take it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I
and
just
it has
think it's
funding.
all
significant-
kinds of things that we need to look at.
And it has significant value from a financial perspective. Keep in mind, prior to the water damage, it was valued by the MCIT at $2.5 million. I'm trying to remember all the numbers, but I think it has probably about, we received well over 700,000, but it would probably take a good $1 million to bring it, to do a lot of the revamping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is instant equity built in for whoever might take that upon themselves, and it's structurally sound. Yes, Commissioner, it needs a new roof. I think we have an old quote on that from about 5 years ago. Those are relatively easy to ballpark. But right now, getting construction firms out to spend the resources of their staff time to do in-depth analysis is probably not going to be forthcoming when they don't know what we're going to do, and it would be at their cost, unless we pay them
Mm-hmm.
to do that.
Yep. All right.
Sorry, I'm making you guys run behind.
Yes.
No, it's a good discussion.
And
Okay, and Linda, then we'll bring you up with a human service update. Oh,
since I said I would print a copy for you.
For later. Thank you.
okay, Linda, do you want to give us an update on human services?
Sure. Okay. First thing I have is actually a renewal, well, it's an addendum to a CREST Initiative Cooperative Agreement. CREST is adult mental health. It's our state funding mechanism, and just needs a signature. Basically, it divides up where the funding goes. The state has the funds go to Olmsted County. Olmsted is the fiscal host, and this is just agreeing to what they're going to pay us. So
Do you need a motion on that, Linda?
I believe I do.
So it's to sign the CREST contract. I'll make a motion that we sign the CREST
I'll second
contract.
All right.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And my partners are not here this morning, but, well, they have conflicts, and so it's kind of mean. I did look at one thing we have coming up that I just need to tell you about a little bit. We don't need a decision or anything today. However, I've been working on this actually with Tess, and what it is the state of Minnesota passed a rate increase for waiver disability services workers. They should get a 5% raise. Well, we have a union environment here, so the union decides how all that works, the union in concert with the county. And in the meantime, we do have to do some complying with the state. So before the end of the year, and I believe this will formally come to county board December 30th, before the end of the year, we will, we have well, I actually already have it calculated out and based on what we have to do to comply to state standards. As it turns out, that when you read through, DHS puts out a bulletin. When DHS puts out this bulletin, you sit and you really have to read through the fine print to figure it out. The 5% raise actually gets calculated out based on the amount of revenue we receive from our waiver disability services people. We have 4 people, 4.5 actually, who work in waiver services and disability. We've projected that almost $284,000 is the amount of revenue they produce by doing their jobs. So they basically pay for themselves and then some. In the meantime, what we have to do is take 80% of 5% of that $284,000 and divide it out and deliver then to human services basically as a whole a little over $11,000 in raises. Well, so then we sit and we look at the step increases and the differences in wages from this. You have to remember the state fiscal year starts July 1st of 2014, so we're working on state fiscal year figures. So we do the math for all of human services. By the time we get done figuring out the differences in step changes, and then this year well, I think all the unions probably had a raise as of July 1st. So we take that and we come up with, in human services alone, I actually could have used the whole county as a basis, but according to this bulletin we have. But anyway, we end up with about $65,000 in wage change for human services between July 1st of 2014 and December 31st of 2014. We only had to come up with $11,345. So we're fine on it. Right now, though, the whole process, the whole proposal has to go to the union. The union has to approve and say, yeah, okay, we understand it and get it. And then from there, then that goes to the state. In the meantime, though, I just kind of want you aware this is what's going on. And I actually could give you a copy of this if you'd like to read it. It's definitely not final. Something in it could change. You know, so when we have the final one, I will gladly share it again.
When the state can say how much we need to increase our salaries, that's a little scary.
It is scary. I agree.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I think where this came from is the state had a wage freeze for quite a few years. And anyway, I'm not sure how many years, but because of that, then the state ended up with a 5% raise. And so anyway, this is their follow-through. It has to go statewide, supposedly. And I can't really, I guess the law is, it's Minnesota 2014 law. It's Chapter 312, Article 27, Sections 71 and 75, if you really want to go look up the statute. But like I say, it's in the works. It's not done, but it is coming down the road. And then the only other really major thing I did want to say to you, here is my document on the legislative initiatives. coming up with my directors group. And there are really, they're all really needed when I read through them. So the first one is supporting the recommendations of DHS program uniformity and simplification. A couple of these are in here. That's a really good thing because right now income maintenance especially has so many standards they have to keep straight for all of their programs. The other thing that, believe it or not, there is not any county representation on the state MNsure board. And the MNsure board is the health insurance board. So anyway, one of their initiatives is to get county representation on that board since the counties are trying to implement it. The other thing is the federal SNAP requirements, that's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, food support. The state law and the federal law don't agree on everything, so they're trying to get that straightened out so there are less things to keep straight and comply with. The other thing is they want to support, right now, MNsure doesn't talk to the other programs within the system, so they want to support a data exchange and have that funded so that all the systems click together and we can look at one system for all the information we need. The other thing I'm thinking here, clarifying the statutory definition of threatened sexual abuse for purposes of assessing child safety and initial court action. That'll help the child protection people. Some of it is so unclear, and that's kind of why they end up bogged down in what's right, what isn't right, how do we handle things. The other thing they want to do is to streamline child support a little bit. They want to support DHS actually recommends utilizing administrative processes for some of the child support things where court orders taking away some of the court time, making it so just child support officers can administer certain things. The biggest, they're talking about aligning funding here with vulnerable populations probably, and actually it is the number one thing on their list is investing in child welfare services, and they do mention a reduction of the $36 million in state grants to counties that has taken place over the years. They want to better fund transportation services for educational stability of kids, and they also want to align the child support calculation formulations to what is going on in the economy. I don't know if they consider the economy entirely right now with their calculations. The calculations, there's an online tool they use, and they sit and divide things. It's kind of interesting, 50-50 basically, unless you have this and unless you have that, and you take this away and you add that back, and it's a pretty complex formula, but anyway, they want to align it to also include the economy, which is probably a good thing to do, basic thing. They want to increase access and funding for basic sliding fee child care. When you think about it, sometimes people don't have jobs because they basically can't afford the child care. And so anyway, they want to improve that assistance program as well. Other than that, we have a couple of contracts hanging out there. I'm waiting for SEMCAC to get their contract back to us. We've had a few emails back and forth, but they just haven't gotten it done. And then when they do get it back to us, it goes to our county attorney for approval before I come to you with it. There's a couple of regional contracts out there, which when I say regional, they involve all 10 counties. One of them is the mobile crisis contract for the mobile crisis project that's been up and coming this past year. And I know there's another one out there with Mower County that actually is the host county. That one, I'm curious to see what will happen with that. There's a new director in place in Mower, interim director, so it's open enrollment for MNsure right now. I believe it closes December 20th, and that would be about it. Tim is in a social work, family decision-making meeting this morning. That's why he's not here. Karen's not here today. So that's what I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Linda?
Are they widening what you can use as respite care for? You know, like in your budget, do you notice that different things that are
Oh, like what they can use the money for, the
Right.
funds for?
yes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in fact, we used to get like $12,000 a year for respite, children's mental health respite, and last year for sure, and I believe in 2015, they've increased it to 20,000. So yeah, there are other things we can use that money for other than basically finding someone to take care of a child for a weekend or whatever. We do some things like, well, we've paid for camps for kids. We get creative. Sometimes they get to go have, go to the movies. They get to do some things like that, yeah. So we have expanded that quite a bit, and actually we end up using that money pretty much. It's gone. They take it away, and then of course we won't get to do those extra things. But sometimes it's nice for a child who actually really is in foster care, needs respite, and.
So can you pay for like conferences for social workers out of respite or not?
I don't think you can. You can pay for, like out of CREST Adult Mental Health Funding, you can pay for conferences for social workers out of that. We've done that, but a lot of our funds are really restricted. CREST mental health dollars, that's one of the very few, and then they restrict it to, it has to be for adult mental health. So then that only involves like 2 of our social workers. So that one's a pretty narrow one, yeah. And the respite money has to be spent on kids. I think that's if I'm remembering right. Don't have it in front of me, but yeah, there's a lot of criteria for our grants. So. Anything else? No?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the case aid. They need it. They just need it. So anyway, thanks guys.
You're welcome. This is the one I just created. Crucifixion Elementary School Script. Crucifixion Elementary Script Program. 1,500. Did you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Oops, sorry.
What was that?
This is one of the things I just didn't understand.
Oh, yeah.
As I look through those. Did you guys?
Oh, I saw it, but I didn't know.
That's why I wanted to know about what respite care can all be used for, because it's changing so much.
Yep.
Carol, do you have a finance update for us?
Yes, well, I emailed it out to you. If you look through the summary,
Yep.
it shows that pretty much all of the departments are under the percentage of the year for expenditures, which is good. I submitted a request to come next week for budget amendments, and that will that has to do with the recorder's office and a couple other ones. But the recorder's office, they don't have their budget in that they spend their money on equipment for, because it comes from the fund balance from the compliance fund and the recorder's technical equipment. So actually that budget will also fall into line. And looking at our trial balance with our ending cash balances, they all look good, and shot in the arm for that was actually the insurance settlement from NCIT regarding the jail. It's actually just in our cash balance now, and
But are we
I
going
think
to
I
put
had
it, we kind of
mentioned-
talked about that we should maybe put it in a separate account where it's
Yeah.
put away,
put it into
just for
have
that,
done.
and then invested, so maybe it's gaining something instead of just,
Well,
And so it's a
it's actually
design-
in an investment
Okay.
account, but it's mixed in with our regular investments, so.
It's fund accounting is what it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just easier to see if we
Yeah.
split it separately.
Mhm.
Yes.
So I'll talk with Donna and see what our options would be regarding that. We also did get some airport money in for a project that was paid last year, so that, you know, replaces money that was spent last year on that project. Were there any questions regarding the detail?
Yeah, now I have to find what they were. When we're looking at these fund balances, can you let us know what the recommended amount is?
Okay.
You know, like, to me, the fund balance says, on this one, says 4 million, I mean, something, but that doesn't mean anything because I don't know how much we need to have in our fund balance.
Oh, you mean that, like, that 5 month, like what
Right,
that is in the
right.
monetary value?
Right.
True.
You know, because I think that if we have to decrease our fund balance, then we need to know how much we need to have in there.
Mhm.
What our bottom line is, really.
Right.
Bottom line, yes.
Yes, I can add that to the report. And actually, from that total fund balance, then I can separate out what you've actually talked about keeping for, you know, certain things. the certain
Right, can you
things that
just
have
like
come
do a
in.
printout of just that? Like, here's what our fund balance is, here's what it needs to be designated, here's the areas that are
We
designated.
don't have that actually in our financial system. It's actually done through manual entries when we're preparing our trial balance, but I can get something set up so that we can update it each month.
I
Well,
think that would be,
even as we're doing the budget, just, you
Mhm.
know, like a one-time look at this for
Mhm.
where we're at, because if the money's designated for something, we
Mhm.
can't like assume we know where that's going.
Can't just up and take it.
Right.
No, that probably would be a good idea.
Yeah, that
And
would be
then,
helpful.
in terms of budget, I did send out the budget worksheets to all the departments and requested them to submit anything that they may need to have changed. There were a couple, just small items that came in. The surveyor's office got the Verizon hotspot, because their equipment
Mhm.
utilizes that now, and that wasn't included when the original budget was done, so that's like $500. I think we need to take a look at, which there'll also be a budget amendment, our police state aid. We received police state aid to offset our retirement costs for peace officers.
Mhm.
And this year, I believe we have budgeted $80,000 that we would receive, or 85, and we actually received $99,000. So we'll do a budget amendment so that we're not questioned on that as to why we didn't account for that. And next year's, I think, could be raised also, because I can't see the legislature probably reducing the funding that's given. And it's based on, it's hard to come up with an amount because legislature appropriates this much money and we submit a report, and it's not based on the amount of the salary, it's just based on the number of officers that we have in comparison with all the peace officers in these certain entities throughout the state. And, you know, to me, I don't think anybody's probably going to reduce their police force in this time. So I think that's one item that we could increase. I'm going through all of the changes due to the health insurance annual enrollment, where if somebody took single coverage before and now they changed to family coverage, we'll get those changes, or vice versa, we'll get those changes into each of the departments so that we have reflection on that. We will actually need to adopt the final levy next week, unless you're going to have a special meeting, because it has to be adopted 5 business days after December 20th, on or before, which would actually make it.
We could have a Christmas meeting.
Yeah, ho, ho, ho. So I'll get this information sent out to you. You don't actually have to adopt the final budget until the last meeting of the year, if you would prefer to do it that way.
Do you have any idea where negotiations are at, or does anybody?
We've got a negotiation meeting coming up.
Is
Before
it,
next
Yeah.
week? Or no?
49ers hasn't really gone anywhere yet. Yeah.
I think they're all out there, but
Yeah.
I don't know that they're
Working on
really
'em.
responses
We haven't really-
from anyone.
Nothing's settled. We know what we
is
want.
this common? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we've got the one that went on for like a year and a half. So,
Yeah.
Basically, I think we budgeted already. you
Yeah.
know.
But we didn't.
Well, no, we have not budgeted for a salary increase.
nope, we had.
We have a summary on the
Correct.
sheet that you were given when you adopted the 4% levy.
Correct.
You know, so that's the estimate of what it would cost if we granted 2% levy or pay increases.
Yeah. But that was not included in our 4?
No.
In our 4 estimate?
Yeah, that was
It's not
included
included
in
on the,
it was
it's not included on the
Yeah.
reports that you received.
Okay.
But it's included
We
when
took it
we
in-
took it into consideration. We
Right.
needed a 4%.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
The
on the
only one
right-hand
that
column.
wasn't put in was soil and water, right?
Right. So there's appropriations. Shar had sent me the appropriations list, and we went through it yesterday. And the only thing that we really have in terms of appropriations is that SEMCAC requested more than what we had approved.
But they always do.
But they always do?
Mm-hmm.
Generally, we've given $1,000 per fund with the addition, or the exception last year. The RSVP program went away, so we added that 1,000 to the senior nutrition, senior dining. So I don't know if you want to keep them the same as last year.
Mhm. And they requested actually $2,000 for each program and $3,000 for the transportation bus thing, which if I remember when he was here talking about it, they would need to replace their vehicle in 2015. But I think Shar said that in the past,
Our
we
board
haven't
historically
participated.
has not been very supportive of the bus. I know years, and this is going back quite a few years, but I believe the last time they bought a bus, Kevin Keller was on board, and I know he was very against it, and the board was totally against it.
Isn't there state funding for purchasing buses? Because
Yeah.
isn't that what Crescent did? They purchased, that's how they started their program, was on a grant thing.
Mhm.
And if they can qualify for it, there should be other
They get
sources
grants.
out there.
Yeah.
That could be why we historically don't
Mhm.
increase it.
The board never was very much in favor of doing that.
Yeah, I'd have to look back to make sure, but I know it's been, addressed, at our board meetings.
Mhm.
I don't think they get 100% though.
And the soil and water, we appropriated $129,000 in 2014, and they requested approximately $146,000, which is a pretty sizable increase. So that, you would need to decide on a final as to what you're going to appropriate for soil and water.
Dana, why are they asking for such a big increase? Do you know? Soil and water?
For four positions. What were they asking for?
149.
I think it was
wasn't
I
$146,000.
thought, I talked to Ann and said I didn't think we were gonna do that. I had a visit with her about that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. He told me more. I said that was a lot of money, and I didn't think we could do that. And I asked her if she could look for grants to cover that. She said she was gonna do it.
Mhm. I think from 2013 to 2014, we gave a 3% increase or something like that. That's what it calculated out to be. So I'll put these, all of these things in a list with any other requests that I have before the end of the week and to review before next week's meeting.
Yeah, we should all have copies of all of our appropriations and.
Okay.
Mhm. And actually, soil and water isn't really listed on there, but you might want to
No.
list it.
Okay. So what amount you want on that?
Can you do this? Can you put a column what it was last year and then new column proposed, kind of like how we do all the rest of our budget stuff, so we can get an idea?
Mhm. We did have the one request for the appropriation for the southeast, no, historic bluff country?
Historic Bluff Country, and that one I believe.
And,
We decided we do not want to.
Right. so that was.
That's
one
the tourism?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Historic,
that-
yeah,
Are they,
we do not.
are they continuing as an organization, or
They
is it
have to.
actually?
They have to continue, but they're looking at going at a, internet-based kind of source of information is what they're looking at now, but they have to get it all approved.
Okay. Any other questions? Human Services does have changes to their budget, but the revenues equal the expenditures, so it's offsetting, so there's no additional levy on there. The only thing that would affect them would be salary. I think Road and Bridge is probably pretty much set also.
And do we, on EDA, need to have, like, we have money that wasn't spent this year because we haven't finished a project that we budgeted for? Can we carry that over? Do we have to put something in?
We do a fund balance applied entry, which we need to figure out the Wildcat entry also to put that in. Mhm.
Okay. Because there's something under EDA with the brochures that we were going to get that we budgeted for.
That's actually in the 2015
In the
budget.
2015, so it's covered, it's good,
Mhm.
okay.
Right. That is, was it $9,000 that was added to the 2015 budget?
Okay. I just
for
want
the
to make sure
brochures?
that we were.
We used,
There was something.
there were 1,000 additional brochures printed so that
Mhm.
you would have some in the
Right.
meantime, and that utilized the funding that was available in 2014.
Okay.
So 15 is covered
And did we
there.
have carryover from anything else on that budget?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
There's really not a lot budgeted in there.
No, there's not. I just remember we were having budget discussions at our last meeting.
Mhm.
We mentioned it, maybe. One time we said, which Carol over here?
Was that at the, I was,
Because she was supposed to bring treats.
I was busy. I could have brought my grandson his treat, but you know. Mhm. And then I do just have one more request from Soil and Water. Their claims are all included in the list that was prepared for today, except they forgot to bring one. And it's for Tony Becker, and it's $33.60. And I'm asking that we be able to process that today because it's an ACH entry. It goes direct deposit. And we could do it with the license center tomorrow, but they're not accustomed to doing the ACH transactions, and we already have ACH being processed with this batch. So I'm just asking that this be approved for payment today.
I'll make a motion, we
With the
approve it
batch.
for payment today.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Shar, would you want a copy then for, in the file? Okay. That's about all I have.
Denise?
Thanks for that email today, too.
Let me know if you want a different format.
Okay.
Different, you know.
Thank you.
I was thinking maybe subtotals by department would be a good thing to do too.
At least it gives us numbers, which
Mhm.
we didn't have before, so thanks.
Okay.
Consent agenda. Public notice of sealed bids being accepted for the 2015 printing. I think we all got copies of that.
Yep,
Historical Society financial report,
yep,
and
Mhm.
tons delivered to Excel.
yep. I'll make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Roxanne, issue updates. Have we received any comments yet?
I have 3.
Okay.
They went out last week.
Okay.
You got it mailed to us?
I gave it to Rick, and he was having Holly send them out.
Yeah, I got it mailed. I got
Okay.
that.
Okay, I don't
Did you
think I
get it
got
mailed?
it. I did
I don't
not
think we
get it
did.
yet.
There's a big manila envelope came last Thursday.
Maybe you only sent it to the planning commission. I'll
Okay.
make sure you
Make
all
sure
get it.
that, yeah, we
There
all
was
Yeah.
about,
Yeah, because I haven't received anything
Okay,
yet.
thank you for letting me know.
Anything on the highway department at this point?
Steve and I have a meeting on Thursday with Brian.
Last Thursday?
This Thursday.
This coming
This
Thursday.
coming Thursday,
Yeah.
okay, good. And we're still dealing with the jail and courthouse issue, so. Commissioner reports, Dana?
So we didn't have a meeting last week, right? So gonna go back to the following week? Okay. On the 3rd, I had an EDA meeting with Judy and can't remember so long ago. I can't remember. And on the 4th, I had water planning meeting in the morning and truth and taxation at 6 o'clock, and then extension meeting at 7 o'clock. That was a busy day. And then the extension meeting where 2 people's terms are up, and we're working to fill that before the end of the year, because that has to be board approval before the end of the year. So they're talking to a couple of people to see if they want to go on. The following day, I had the extension hire. I'm on the committee. We're in the process. We narrowed down a field of 12 to 4, and tomorrow we'll be interviewing the final 4 for the youth. I think we'll get a good candidate. And then last Wednesday, I went and attended a special meeting here. That's all I had.
Justin?
I just had the Houston Chamber of Commerce meeting last week, but other than that, pretty quiet.
Okay. Is that anything for the county?
No, not really. More or less just for the city. Just trying to. It was our annual Christmas party. It was going on. Just had some discussion about Houston Chamber of Commerce is trying to figure out how to use the term "stay alive." We've got a lot of people that have volunteered that have been volunteering for years and years and years, and we're trying to get some new, fresh faces in there. One of the discussions that came up was the Hoedown Committee. Obviously, Houston Hoedown being kind of a big event in the area, they have to run through all of their stuff through the Chamber of Commerce. And so there was some talk that maybe we should have some members from the Hoedown Committee be on the Chamber of Commerce, since they work very closely with them anyway. So we have a meeting first part of January to try and figure that out, to see what we can do and keep the Chamber going and try and help out the businesses in Houston. So.
Good. So are you on it? Are you on the committee?
Still, yes. Still, I've been on it 3. This will be coming 4 years. So, yeah. But.
Steve?
Yeah, just trying to decide here. We had strategic planning, AMC, got a 49ers negotiations meeting on Wednesday. SIMCAC last night. Let's see what else.
Well, SEMCAC is sure, not SEMCAC, but their parent company sure is in the news a lot. The one out of Minneapolis.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the name
I
of
guess
that?
there's no comparison between SIMCAC and that.
Good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, very good thing. Very, it's very transparent, and I just think you can't beat the SIMCAC organization. Things happening with SIMCAC. They're looking at Head Start, reduced enrollments, really reduced enrollments, and they're looking at probably having to cut staffing in regard to Head Start, and we really don't know why enrollments are down, I guess. Seems like there's kids around, but they're just not getting them. And 49ers negotiations, still at it. Haven't settled on anything is that on that regard yet.
Have you guys settled the contract with the one that was from last year yet?
No, that was,
49ers?
yeah, we've got, no, that one was still on the table. That was a new branch of it, but yeah, they're part of it. Them, the 49ers, I think.
They're a tough bunch to deal with.
Yeah.
Or tough to negotiate. They're
Yeah.
tough negotiators.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah, so.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. I had department head and the TNT meeting, and then I went to AMC in St. Cloud, which was so worth it going. It's like every time I go, it just kind of gives you so many more ideas, and you get to talk to people. You get to meet more and more people so that you can converse about what goes on in other counties, which is really important. And then I had that special meeting, and then I had CJC, and I just find that a really interesting meeting, and that, we just talk about different things that are going on in the CJC and what needs help, and that's kind of where I got some feedback also on I asked more about the staffing thing, so it gave a little more topic of understanding it. So.
Sounds
That's
good.
it.
I also had, did you have more?
I don't think so.
Okay, I had department head meeting also, that's always
Oh, I
important.
did have another meeting. I was gone all day yesterday.
Yeah, I remember, but then, no, you didn't have a quorum, you said.
We didn't have a quorum, so we have to meet again
That was in
next
Rochester?
Monday. Yes.
Too much fog?
Farmer?
There's a little bit of not enough commitment by some commissioners that are on it. And so we're always at borderline. And there's some really important things that we need to approve, and we couldn't do it, so we're doing it. Some people don't feel comfortable video conferencing, but I think that I'm just coming to Caledonia instead of going to Rochester, as long as we already discussed everything, and
Actually, SimCAC is having some trouble with attendance also, with, a couple of individuals. One is Chris Schaff, but he just became the AMC president. And his problem, I guess, he's so darn far away. He works till 5:30, and then he's got to beat feet and it's probably an hour drive for him to get to a SimCAC meeting, so understandably, he's going to go off, I guess.
right, and like this board also is a daytime meeting, and it's a long trip to get there, and but we need to be represented on it. It's really important that we are.
For sure. Well, we actually have a contract with them.
Right, so I mean, it's important, and it's important for us to be able to get funding through that we need in our county too. That's all, you can go ahead.
Sounds good. I had department head, TNT, AMC conference, which was very good. The two of the sessions that I went to on, lose track of what day it was, Tuesday, one was on data privacy, and Tess was also at that one. That was very interesting with the new rules that are coming out from the state as of August last year. Having somebody, in charge of your county with all the data requests. And there were counties that had requests for all the emails from the commissioners for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And that Mower was that one, and
It's
they
basically
said.
from media, or from the newspapers.
Yeah, it was a lot of
Mainly,
people from the
yeah.
newspaper, but they said, and we cannot refuse it. You have to do it, but you can set up, the way they set it up is every Friday for 2 hours, they have their employees go through, copy all the emails, redact whatever has to be redacted, and then, I figure it'll take a couple years to get it all out. And that's staff time,
And wasn't one of them, they offered to bring in their own copy machine so they
Yeah.
could save a few bucks,
Yep.
on copies.
They brought, because you can show them everything,
Yeah.
and they can stand right there, so they brought in their own copy machine and make copies of everything. And the county went to AMC or administration, and they were questioned about how they could charge for something like that, where you can't charge for the information. They said if you could figure out how much electricity they used,
dig them for electricity.
you could charge them for that. So every county seems to be facing that these days as far as, and it's really hard on counties because you're using your employees,
Raise them up.
And we can't refuse it. It's a big thing. Huh?
Quit using email.
I know.
True.
And then we had the special meeting. Then I had a workforce development meeting up in Rochester Thursday. And in fact, our local workforce development person was there at the same time. And because Elko's one of them that are closing, and they are meeting with the 15 employees there, helping them find new jobs as they want. But they also brought up that there's a business that's thinking of taking over the Elko stores because they're closing all over. So I hadn't heard of it. They said Shopko Home or something like that. It's like a smaller version of a Shopko.
Oh, okay.
They have that in Lackawanna.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
And it's that company that's thinking of coming into, so that was kind of positive
That's
news
good.
for us. Because the Big Lots stores, the one in Rochester closed, Radio Shack, IBM laid off another 83 people, that type of deal. So they're constantly working with people to provide education, help them get further education in something else, or find new jobs. So they're very busy. That's all federal program too. Well, we have state also, state and federal. That was kind of interesting. Yeah, I think that was my 3 big meetings. Oh, one other session I went to, AMC, I thought was interesting, was on the, one was a 5-county cooperative of public health, and the other one was a 2-county cooperative with public health. They had found that combining public health with human services wasn't really working. Public health kind of gets lost in the shuffle, and they're 2 different state departments. So they decided to work together and combine the different counties' public health departments, and it's really working well. Took them a year to go through the whole process and get the employees, but then they have one administration type deal. But they kept open all their offices around the 2 counties, so the people, the citizens can still go to their local one. But with the computer systems now, they can combine all their reporting systems, all their grants, they can work together on them. So I thought that was a real interesting. I thought of meeting with Mary and just talking it over. That possibly, we already have a joint public health with Fillmore County anyway. But, so that was interesting, I thought. Okay, approval of the claims.
Move to approve the claims, human services, and license center disbursements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Appoint new member to EDA.
Yeah, right. We are going to approve a new person on our EDA. His name is Schultz.
Tony Schultz.
Tony Schultz.
Houston?
Yes, from Houston. And he'll be a great addition. So we need approval from the board, so we need a motion to. Can I make that motion? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve adding Tony Schultz to the EDA board.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And I also want to do some research and to see if there's any way, I tried to find out at AMC, other counties that have EDA boards, and if they have to have a 6-year, but I couldn't find anybody who had an EDA board.
It's in the statute.
Right, so,
Unfortunately.
I mean, is there any way that we can redo anything to work with it? Because we're asking people that join EDA to make a 6-year commitment, which is,
A lot for some people.
You know, I wonder if you could get the legislature to change it. I mean, why do
Yeah.
they care how many years?
right. Well, that's a thought.
Call Greg Davids. Jeremy might get a lot
Jeremy,
further.
yeah.
Jeremy would push for that one. Okay, approved minutes, we already did that actually with
Yeah.
our approved disaster credit. I think Shar sent that to us. Motion.
Move to approve disaster credit.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And approved tobacco licenses.
We have 3, River Valley Convenience Store, Houston Food Mart, and Lake Creek Haven. We're responsible for the tobacco licenses in the townships, and then for any cities who chose not to have their own program. Houston chose not to have their own program, so that's why we're doing that.
Motion to approve tobacco license.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Can we recess for like 10 minutes?
and then we'll do reviews
Right.
back in that back room.
Okay.
That's right.
How about if we recess for 15?
Yeah.
Settle.
Start at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.